welcome back to Ranger Touring, and today I'm going to be going through my favourite campsites around Australia. So I am going to caveat this, I haven't obviously been to everything. I've been doing touring for about 2.5 years now, but I've done all the way up to Cape York and then mostly down to Victoria as well. So how do I find these campsites? So the way I go about it is I use the app WikiCamps. So doubling up with WikiCamps, I use a HEMA, being the HX1, to navigate myself to there. Plus as well, it provides you contact information and it gives you a basic understanding of the facilities that are there. And then finally, I use the HEMA Atlas, which just provides paper copies to find those spots. I'm a bit of a planner. I usually pick my campsite before I get there, but that's not to say that I don't sort of make it up on the spot if something pops up. I normally use WikiCamps to find the spots, and then I use the HEMA to navigate there. Alright, so starting off at camping spot number 5, I've got Captain's Crossing. Captain's Crossing is located west of Mackay. It's about an hour's drive from there. So to get in there is a dirt road, but nothing hectic or nothing too four-wheel drivey. You could do most of it in two-wheel drive. From there you end up in this pine forest, and it's just a stunning location right on the river. The last time we were there, it was quite popular, and the campsites are tight. You really wouldn't want too big of a camper trailer, and I don't believe you could tow a caravan in there. It's quite a tight little spot, and getting out and negotiating that area is tough. The reason I like this spot so much, it's quite an isolated little spot, but it's got a gateway to a lot of four-wheel drive tracks from there. It's also a stunning location, it's green, there's a river, it's just a beautiful spot to go to. So coming in at number 4 is the Gunbow Creek campsite. Well, last time we were there, we were the only people there. It's a great spot to watch people coming through the water crossing, and if they actually decide to take on the actual gunshot, it's a great place to watch that. It's about a 50-metre walk from the water, and you are quite elevated, so that you're not really close to the water in terms of if you worry about crocodiles. It's a really nice spot. It's quite tight as well. You could get a camper trailer in there, but again, you might have to pick and choose where you set up. There's lots of firewood around as well, so you are able to have fires in there, which is nice. It's actually quite a nice campsite. It's not just for the entertainment of watching people go through the crossing, but that's definitely a side part. We really enjoyed it just because you're camping on the tele track. It's very exciting. Plus, it's just a nice little tucked away spot with a bit of entertainment. There's no facilities at this site. However, you would be remiss to pass it. I would recommend Gunbow Creek campsite to anyone who's looking to do on the tele track over the 2 to 3 day period. It's definitely one of the ones I would recommend if you want to stay on the south section, and it's definitely a lot quieter than some of the ones on the north section. So coming in at number 3 is another one from Cape York, but this one's actually a proper campsite. So this is the Morton Telegraph station. So the reason I loved the Morton Telegraph station is that it's a green grassy field, and then it's still got that Cape York appeal to it. So it is a bit dusty around the outsides of the actual green field. So the best part about the Morton Telegraph station has to be the river down there. So under the bridge, there's a beautiful spot to sit in the river and have a few drinks. It was super refreshing on a hot day to sit there and just relax for the afternoon. The staff there are super friendly and the facilities aren't too bad. From there as well, there's also a walking track over to the barra hole, where apparently you're meant to be able to catch heaps of barramundi. Now, I'm not a very good fisherman, so I didn't catch anything, but I made up for that by sitting in the river and drinking. I really enjoyed the Morton Telegraph station, and to anyone who's looking at going there, it'd be definitely on my list of places to go. So the only problem with the Morton Telegraph station is that there's no fuel stop. So a lot of the campsites that we stayed in were dictated by where there was fuel. The fuel stops form where you're going to actually stop. So that's the only problem. You do have to be self-sufficient. It's definitely aimed at your families. It's not isolated by any means, and it's straight off the Peninsula Development Road. The spot is aimed at people with caravans, camper trailers, and you've got plenty of space. It is really choose your own spot and choose your own adventure in there. Alright, so coming in at number 2, I've got Blue Rag. So the Blue Rag campsite isn't really well known. However, again, I found it on WikiCamps, and then I cross-referenced that with the HEMA to find where the spot was. So it was a little full drive track in there, and you did need a bit of a lift kit just to make sure you didn't bottom out. Definitely wouldn't try it if it's been raining, because it would turn to a mushy mess. However, once you get into this spot, you are elevated at 1,650 meters above sea level, and you can hear the trees creaking throughout the night. So it is a bit spooky, but actually a really spectacular spot. The views are awesome, and if you like camping where there's a breeze or it's a bit cool and you like to rug up, it's definitely the spot for you. And it's a nice little spot out of the way that not a lot of people know about. So if you're looking to have a small group of probably 5 vehicles, you could squeeze into there and probably be left alone. To anyone who's going there, You do need to be self-sufficient. There's no portaloos or anything like that. There's no facilities whatsoever. There's going to be no shortage of firewood laying around. There's a lot of dead stumps. So what could you tow in there? I probably wouldn't recommend towing anything in there. The ground was super slushy, and that was when it was dry. If it was wet, I could see it being a bit of a boggy mess. So you'd really only want just your car in there. However, if you're in a group, you could probably squeeze a few vehicles in there and have a lovely spot. Okay, so what came in at number 1 for my favourite campsites? So this was another one on the Telegraph track, being Sam Creek. So Sam Creek is located on the north section of the Tele track, and it's about a third of the way on the northern section. So there is 2 ways to get there. You can come in the conventional way and go through the Sam Creek water crossing. However, that is kind of chopped out and you will probably smack the back of your car. Or there's a secondary track in, which is pretty much a 2-wheel drive the whole way in. From there, the campsite is pretty small, and to be fair, when we were there, I didn't take any footage because it was so crammed. However, the best part about Sam Creek is, again, you get to see all the people coming through the creek crossing, but the best part, hands down, has to be the hidden waterfall that's slightly downstream from the campsite. We had it to ourselves, even though the actual campsite was super busy. It was an absolutely lovely spot to be in and have a few drinks there. Especially when you're doing Cape York, it's super hot up there. So sitting at a beautiful creek crossing is the perfect way to spend a day on the track. So who would I recommend this to? I recommend it again to people who are doing the Tele track over 2 to 3 days, because you can use that as your stop for the northern section. So Sam Creek is pretty much the last place that you can go to before you need to peel off if you don't want to go and do the last few water crossings. That track is the way out. However, again, I think you're missing out if you don't do the full Tele track. There is chicken tracks to an extent from Mistake onwards, but again, you can't really avoid Nolan's. Sam Creek, beautiful spot, would highly recommend it to anyone, and that comes in at number 1. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's my top 5 spots that I've done in Australia over the last 2.5 years whilst touring. There's plenty of other campsites, and a lot of them in the high country that, you know, were competitive for this list. However, those were my 5, and I hope that helps you put together your trip around Australia.